What's going on there, folks? Good morning, good afternoon. The Earthmaster here on the live stream on this beautiful Friday. It is March 4th, 2022, about 11:50 a.m. California time here on the West Coast. And the latest quake shows a 3.0 earthquake into the area of the western part of the Philippine plate, just around the Philippines area. Quite a bit of uptick and push here towards the west in this region. Let's go ahead and check out this movement on the latest map here from the USGS. Of course, the USGS not going to be showing the anything smaller than 4.0 internationally, but it does kind of give us a good indicator here with this 4.0 threshold, the movement here to the west, basically in this area right around the Java Trench. And as we've seen on the Earthquake 3D globe, quite a bit of movement up through the Philippines here around the Philippine Sea, the Philippine Trench area. This area does accumulate quite a bit of stress in that area of the subduction zone. A lot of subduction zones up and down this area of the Philippine plate, but definitely quite a bit of push towards the west here, up and down the region throughout the Indonesia area, mostly fours. Looks like we did see a 5.4 kick up earlier around the Papua New Guinea area, a little bit further back, 156 kilometers into the region there, just to the east of Papua New Guinea. The majority of this earthquake here on the map that you're seeing, pretty deep. A lot of these up close to 100 200 kilometers below the surface here. Quite a bit of westward movement pressure here. Kind of want to show you here on the plate boundary and general plate movement. The subduction zones, of course, are going to be into the spiky area. You can see the Philippine plate, of course, being subducted not only from the Pacific plate from the east, kind of pushing it west, but it's also got a subduction zone over here, with the Eurasian plate heading towards the to the east. You can see all these arrows. They kind of point towards the area of subduction. Of course, these cold front-looking teeth. Actually, that'd be kind of a warm front on a weather map, but you get the general idea of these pointy teeth here indicating the subduction zones. And there's a lot of them. There's quite a bit of subduction zones throughout the region of the Indonesia area and through Papua New Guinea. And this area right here along the Java Trench, a pretty high accumulator of stress and slip rate as well, with the Australian plate heading northward. So that's kind of what we're looking at today with this general area where we could see some possible further movement here along these subduction zone areas. Up around the China area, outside the Himalayas, seen some movement at 4.6 in China, and a little bit of activity over here outside of the Iran area. They had a 4.4. That's from earlier this morning, it looks like. About 10-kilometer depth for that earthquake. Africa, showing a little bit of movement as well into the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Had a 4.3 last night come into the region. And down here around the Johannesburg area, South Africa, had a 3.7. Isn't it kind of weird? USGS showing a 3.7 here on the map. Sometimes they kind of pick and choose which threes they want to show up. Sometimes they show up in Chile. Sometimes they show up around Greece. It's weird. I mean, if we're going to show 3.0 and above, or 3.5, I would love to see it all added onto the map as far as internationally goes. At least let's do 3.0 and above USGS. Let's get this on the map. But anyway, 3.7 in the Johannesburg area at 5-kilometer depth there in South Africa. Over in the Atlantic. Pretty clear throughout the north and the mid. We did have some further movement just a short time ago, a couple hours ago, in the South Sandwich Islands area, down south here into the trench. 66.5 kilometers, pretty close to the number I do not like there. Let's go over to the weak magnitude here. Kind of see the activity has pretty much struck. It's kind of been light. Haven't seen a whole lot of movement down here in the South Sandwich Trench recently. Did have a 5.8 over the last week into the subduction zone once again, but mostly fives. It's hard to say if there's any fours going on. Just you never know if there is or not. I think there's some smaller quakes, but we just don't see them here with the USGS showing that with that activity. So what else we got? South America up here along the Peru-Chile Trench. Things kind of dying out here. Notice yesterday we had a little swarm of activity up and down the region through Peru and south into the Chile area. Today, though, that has since kind of died out to just one earthquake here on the map, according to the USGS. On the EMSC model, there's definitely some more movement kicking up here into the South America region. Let's go ahead and check this out real quick here, but nothing above the 4.0 threshold. Let's go over here to the South America region. EMSC just kind of slow still. A little bit on the slow side. Hope everyone's having a good Friday. Weekend's coming up upon us. And I could probably make coffee and drink a whole cup by now, or a whole pot. Waiting on these folks. Anyway, wow. Okay, we're going to move on past this, let that load for a little bit, I guess. Maybe they're having some issues across the cables, across the ocean. Up here into the Puerto Rico area, things kind of kicking up a little bit, but then again, we did see that swarm kick up here as well around the Caribbean, northern part here around the Puerto Rico Trench. Today, though, things just kind of limited down here to the southwest edge of the Puerto Rico region. I want to show you guys the 7 days 2.5 and above, and you can see what I'm talking about as far as that trench activity. Pretty cool looking. Seen quite a bit of movement up here around the trench, and a lot of those 2s and 3s, even a 4 up in that area a couple days ago. But like you can see on the map, things kind of dying off a little bit there in that area. 4.3 in Colombia. When was that? Yeah, that was way earlier this morning, late last night it looks like. The states up here, west coast, things kind of lighten up a little bit here on the last hour or so of earthquakes. Down south here, getting a swarm of movement around the San Jacinto fault zone. I believe all that activity is under the 2.5 threshold, so nothing significant. As you can see along the west coast, not hardly anything at all above 2.5 in California. If anything, looks like Nevada over here seeing a little bit of activity. What is that, Hyco? Never heard of that area. 8.2 kilometers for that 3.1 that came in. I do want to zoom in a little bit closer to this area. That was last night that came in. Looks like we did have a little bit of subsequent activity to the west. There's, of course, there's fault systems all over the place out here in Nevada. Specifically, though, on this one, the closest one looks like it's the Coal Valley Fault, just to the south. A little fracture zone right there, but earthquake country does exist out there in Nevada for sure. Just kind of spotty in nature out there when it does come. When it does come up, it kind of comes in swarms and just pops up randomly throughout the region. Long Valley supervolcano just to the west here, seeing a little bit of swarm and a line of activity. Of course, Long Valley supervolcano here in the outline. We can't really see the outline, but the flat area, if you will, the caldera. Been out there last year. I think I went out there early last year, and there's not a whole lot out there. A lot of gravel roads, a lot of people just camping out there in the middle of the desert. Just kind of crazy, but really nothing to see. You wouldn't even know you're in a supervolcano unless you were aware about the surroundings there. Let's see. So far as this little swarm goes, most of it, let's see, what do we got here? A couple of earthquakes up around the 1. There's a 1.9 that came in. Looks like the largest quake in that little sequence of swarms there, just to the west of the caldera of Long Valley. The depths here variable around 2 to 5.7 kilometers below the surface. So kind of watch that. Just kind of a little odd area. Not unusual to get swarms down there, but anytime we do see some swarming, we like to take note, right? Antelope Valley area. Let's see where these guys are at. Up here into the north, a little bit of activity near Colville. A 1.4 looks to be the largest there. Pretty shallow earthquake. Other than that, things kind of dying off there along the eastern Sierra Nevada. Not a whole lot going on into northern California either. Looks like the Bay Area. Some activity up and down the Calaveras and the Hayward fault zone here, but nothing really spectacular. In general, California is just kind of calm today as far as earthquake conditions go, aside from that little Long Valley supervolcano swarm. But even then, that's really just very minimal to say the least. Oregon, what do we got up here in Oregon? Outside of Bend, Oak Ridge. Of course, Three Sisters sits over here to the northeast. Mountain range, volcanoes, Mount Bachelor. I'm going to check out the latest GPS systems on the Three Sisters volcano up there. See if we get any more vertical uplift from that, the inflation that they had up there. I did a little article. Actually went up there a month or so ago with Missy Mimi's and checked out the area. But man, there's just way too much snow up there right now. Had a little bulge of activity over the past few years and kind of kicked up pretty good last year. I want to see what this is kicking up here on the. What do we got here? See, that's only going to show 2021. Stand by for 1 second. 2018. That's great. Some old data coming in here. 2022 here is listed on this map just to the north of the area that we kind of want to watch, and still seeing that gradual uplift, vertical displacement there of the Three Sisters region. Looks like right at the end of 2022 there, or the end of 2021. Oh man, hope we're not done with this year yet. Still got a lot of storm chasing plans I need to get into the works. Right there around 2022, definitely getting still quite a bit of uplift there in the dots, northward, or not northward, but the upward vertical trend. And like I say, some of the stuff comes in. It seems like it says daily, hours since beginning of the first day UTC time. But we'll come back and check on that. I wish some of these other sites here were working a little bit closer to the region that we need to watch, which is roughly right around here in this area. And the data is old. See if this one here is working. 2000. See, even that is old. So hard to say. Definitely hard to get accurate data here. Looks like they may be putting in some stations here around the Mount Bachelor area. No data coming in yet though from that GPS station, so we'll continue to monitor it. Just whenever I see earthquake activity around the Three Sisters, kind of want to take note here. This one's pretty deep, 34 kilometers for a 1.0. Nothing big, but some movement. Mount St. Helens, one little, what do we got? It looks like two underneath there. One's kind of hiding right around the crest here, the rim, 0.6 and a 0.0. Okay, for earthquake activity there at Mount St. Helens, and a little scattered movement out throughout the Pacific Northwest. Tremor map last night consisted of tremor mostly into Oregon, 104 epicenters of tremor around the Portland area underneath. Down dip about 35 kilometers into the subduction zone, and a little bit of activity in the southern end of the state of Oregon around the Medford area. Again, southern end of the Cascadia down dip there about 35 kilometers, and we'll see what that looks like a little bit later tonight. Let's see what else we got here. Pacific, or the Intermountain West regions up through the Montana area and Yellowstone, still seeing some activity kick up. Did see a weird reading yesterday in the Yellowstone area. Definitely looked like a localized earthquake. It's now off the map, or getting ready to go off the map. Kind of looked like a localized quake here. Still nothing from the USGS when it comes to the magnitude of that earthquake, which was much bigger than the activity that was showing here with the swarm. Probably around a 3 to 4 magnitude earthquake I'm looking at in the area of Yellowstone, but nothing from the USGS. As far as localized seismic activity goes, we still got some swarming down here around the Grant Village area. That kind of kicked up here. Last night I had this weird reading. It's almost like cracking or fracturing of rock in this area overnight, and some localized seismic activity as well. Sometimes we get these ice quakes, and they, it's hard to say if this is just happening overnight or not. Sometimes it just doesn't happen at all. So I don't monitor the weather stations all the time in this area, but I know it's still getting pretty cold up there in that region. So this could be some type of ice quaking as far as that little seismic activity goes. Let's see what else we got over here around the Maple Creek as well. Seen a little bit of swarming overnight. Same thing, but in a different area of the park, and definitely different area, northwest part of the park, and some general localized seismic activity as well. So it's hard to say exactly what this is. It's not volcanic tremor. To me, it looks like stress, plate tectonic stress. That activity was also shown up over here around the Upper Falls area. Got to remember, all these stations here are not keyed up identical. when it comes to monitoring the, as far as the sensitivity goes, when it comes to monitoring the activity around the station itself. Some of these stations are I don't know, they got them so keyed down where I think if Bigfoot started running around up there, he wouldn't even trigger a seismograph up there on this station. So I don't know why they keep them like that, but it is what it is. But the majority of these stations that are properly tuned to pick up seismic activity definitely showing the swarm continue, but in a little bit smaller fashion there when it comes to the size of those quakes. But I'm still kind of curious about that one up north. Looks like within the last hour or so, a little bit further activity showing up here around the Parker Peak area. There's another earthquake right here, and looks like it's towards the eastern side of the park. As far as looking at the seismographs going, we're not really seeing nothing. These are from late last night. Nothing showing up there. And as far as regional earthquake activity goes, around Idaho, 2.4 is not going to, shouldn't give that type of signature with those stations over here to the east. Not really showing up too much over here on the western side of the park. It is a little bit. See the signature right here around Parker Peak, the red one over here. Kind of showing up a little bit, isn't it? But not as distinct. So that tells me that the epicenter of the earthquake is much further over here to the east. And possibly north to east to north direction from the Yellowstone area. So we'll keep checking back on it, seeing what's going on. I just kind of wonder what's going on with these little, odd readings and stuff like that lately here at Yellowstone. Eastern part of the country, pretty quiet. One earthquake down here in the Pecos, Texas area, 3.1. Some Oklahoma throughout, some earthquakes across Oklahoma. Start reading backwards here. Yeah, so a little bit of activity outside of the OKC area. New Madrid zone, pretty quiet. And the eastern part of the country, all pretty quiet as well. East, what do we got here in Hawaii? Some further movement along the Aleutian chain. And areas south, very quiet here in terms of 4.0 and above. But remember, on the globe, the EMSC model showing quite a bit of movement around the Philippine plate and pretty good swarm of activity throughout the Indonesia area and the Java Trench. So got to watch that pretty closely today. Hawaii, southeast region, nothing within the last hour. Things just kind of calming down there as well. Just kind of floating along out there in the Pacific. I shouldn't say floating because it's definitely well grounded out there. I got a little bit of activity last night kicked up around the Mauna Kea area, 2.3 at 22 kilometers, but nothing really happening for the most part when it comes to any new activity. Of course, Kilauea comes and goes when in its eruptive stage. Let's see here. Earthquakes Canada. We'll check these folks out real quick while we're on it. And I don't believe there's going to be too much happening up here. Even these guys are kind of slow. What's going on with the outside band? It's definitely not my internet because this thing is pretty quick. But when it comes to EMSC model, we'll check out the EMSC real quick then again. We were talking about South America region being pretty quiet. But here on the EMSC model, you can see quite a few threes up around the Peru and the Chile region down south here. All showing a lot of movement, quite a bit of activity. Some twos down there as well into the subduction zone. The latest quake's 3.7 up here further north. Middle America Trench, quite a few threes in that area as well. This region's almost always having earthquake activity. Just because it's not showing up on the USGS map doesn't mean that it's not having movement. It's just nothing above the 4.0 threshold at the moment. Earthquakes Canada map. Still got that one earthquake here from yesterday, it looks like. 2.6 way up north in the Yukon Territory area. At 10 kilometers, it looks like. Yep. Other than that, there's not a whole lot going on there. Nothing along the northern end of the Cascadia either. Pretty quiet. All right, folks, I'm going to jump off here. Have a great day. Enjoy your Friday. We will be back later tonight. I'll probably do the question and answer show here with Missy Mimi's. Last time we didn't have too many questions, but we're kind of open to any and all questions aside from, of course, world events such as what's going on right now and no political stuff. But when it comes to volcanoes, earthquakes, weather in general, history maybe, in terms of plate history, earthquake history, we'll take those questions and answer them as we can. And we'll catch you a little bit later on this evening, folks. Don't miss it. We're going to probably shoot for around the 7:30 p.m. time, West Coast time, 7:30 p.m. We'll get that show on the road. Till then, take care, folks, and stay safe. 2.1 out here, kicking up here on the globe. Once again, just for the folks that are the new subscribers, the bells are working. There's no audio when the stream is rolling unless the bells are, unless there's a new earthquake coming in. Don't play music or anything like that on this channel or any type of elevator stuff. We just wait for the bells, right? That's the only audio unless we're streaming and doing an update such as this right now. So a lot of folks wondering what's going on with the audio. Well, there is no audio unless we got some earthquakes coming in. But welcome all the new subscribers, and we will see you guys tonight, a little bit later on this evening. Stay safe, folks. Peace out.